Hello, good morning, and welcome to Unacademy, a one-stop destination for all the English medium civil services aspirants. Welcome to the Hindu newspaper analysis dated 12th July 2024. The topics that I've chosen in today's session from the international edition of Hindu are these. First, we'll have a discussion regarding a very important article which appeared in the text and context page, Future Investments in India's EV Space. India hosting BIMTEC foreign ministers, second article. Vizhinjam port, India is the first deep water transshipment port, third one. Fourth, should the states get special packages? Now, before I go forward, dated 8th July 2024, there was an article again regarding the special packages to the states in Hindu newspaper. That article was discussed by Chetan sir. I'll not be touching the aspects which have already been discussed by Chetan sir. If you have not seen that, please have a look at it. In today's class, we'll have a larger look at, or let's say, look at a larger picture regarding the special packages that are being demanded by the states. Fifth article, RBI allows Indians to open foreign currency account in the gift city. Why are dengue cases rising in states such as Karnataka, Tamil Nadu now? And the seventh article, Zika virus has made a comeback. There have been certain cases in the states of Maharashtra, Karnataka now. Again, because of that, there's a discussion regarding Zika virus. So these are the 7 very important articles that I'll be discussing. Before I start, regarding the first article, please make a note of this. Although in Hindu newspaper, there is no sufficient discussion regarding this piece of news, that is, the Chinese government couple of days ago has initiated investigations regarding the trade policies of European Union. But that's a very important article. We'll connect that with the discussion related to EVs. Before I start with the first article, please make a note of this. Starting today at 6 p.m., we will be launching NCERT Fundamentals. The NCERT books are indispensable for every civil service aspirant. Whether you like them or don't like them, you will have to read these particular books, get a lot of knowledge, because the questions have been asked directly by civil services in the civil service examination by the UPSC. Not just in the prelims, but also in the mains examination. For example, couple of years ago, UPSC picked up a straightforward question in GS paper 3, under which they were asking you to discuss regarding the revenue budget as well as the capital budget, which is very distinctly provided in the NCERT books. So now to help you prepare for the examination very effectively, today at 6 p.m. we'll be launching the NCERT Fundamentals. The USPs of the program are, there will be a comprehensive coverage of all the NCERT books that are needed for acing the civil service examination and the topics or the chapters from the book. In addition to this, what is needed is, you should know what kind of questions are being asked. You should also practice certain questions for prelims as well as mains. That will also be provided in each and every session under the NCERT Fundamentals. So without any delay, please hit the subscription button so that when the classes will go live, you will be given the information. In addition to this, if you are interested to get a comprehensive coverage of all the subjects, including current affairs, for the next year civil services examination, we have a 15 months comprehensive program for you. The program is provided at just 24,999 rupees, and I've been told that very soon the prices would be hiked. So if you're interested, any of your friends are interested, please do let them know. Let's start now. The first article, important by the way, reason being, last year in the mains examination, that is in the UPSC mains examination 2023, this was the question asked. The adoption of electric vehicles is rapidly growing worldwide. How do electric vehicles contribute to reducing carbon emissions, and what are the key benefits they offer compared to a traditional combustion engine vehicles? This was asked for 15 marks. So please be very, very careful. Anything related to the green economy, such as let's say green bonds, or let's say FAME initiative, electric vehicles, or let's say green fuels, etc., these will become very much important for the upcoming civil services examination. Now, what are the points given in the article? Let's go one by one. The Government of India, in the month of March 2024, that is in this year itself, announced a new initiative, scheme to promote manufacturing of passenger cars in India, that is electric passenger cars in India. Under this initiative, Government of India announced that certain benefits would be provided to the manufacturers, especially the foreign manufacturers of electric vehicles, once they set up manufacturing base in India. Before this initiative was announced, generally the electric cars that is at a higher level, that is the pricier cars, generally are imported into India. Earlier, before this initiative, if you imported an electric car whose price was more than $40,000, the tariff that government would be imposing was 100%. And if the value of the car was below $40,000, the government imposed a tariff of 70%. Now, this is in the context of when you import a built car, that is a completely built unit. What if you import certain components and assemble in India? These are called as knocked down units, completely knocked down units. In case of the assembly of electric vehicles in India, in such cases, the government used to impose a tariff of 15%. Now, the government, in order to promote competition, to promote domestic manufacturing, in order to ensure that better technology cars are available in the domestic market, lot of investment would be done in the domestic market, announced this scheme to promote manufacturing of passenger electric vehicles or electric vehicle cars in India. Under this initiative, listen to me very carefully, the foreign manufacturer, that is whether you are a manufacturer in the domestic market or a foreign market, if you are importing a car of a price above $35,000, in such cases, the government would simply reduce the tariff to 15%. The government would simply reduce the tariff to 15%. But there are conditions attached. What are the conditions? First, you should have certain revenue threshold. Second, once you get the benefit, it essentially means the government's revenue collection in the form of taxes will go down. The government basically stated that in the next 3 years, you will have to set up a manufacturing facility in India. The next 3 years, you will have to set up a manufacturing facility. And the investment that you should do under this initiative was $500 million. $500 million, approximately around 4,150 crore rupees. And not just this, in a span of 3 years, you will have to increase the value addition to 25%. You will have to increase the value addition in the domestic market to 25%, and by 5th year is complete, this has to be increased to 50% value addition. Now, if a particular company which will get the benefit but will not meet these conditions, what is the penalty then? What will the government do? The government mentions that whenever you will be covered under this initiative, you will have to provide bank guarantees. And if you fail to meet these particular conditions or the targets, then the bank guarantees will not be given to you. Government will take away the bank guaranteed amount. So this was an initiative that was announced by the government. Now, what is the logic behind it? The logic behind this is there is a study or there is a report that was published by Niti Aayog. According to Niti Aayog report, it simply mentions that for a common man, whenever they invest in an electric vehicle, first and foremost, the electric vehicles are not cheaper. if you compare the price of electric vehicles with normal, that is the combustion vehicles, the ICE engine vehicles, the cost is somewhere higher by 10%, 15%, 20%. And in such situation, Niti Aayog basically says that it is an investment decision for a common man. They will think a lot. They will make comparisons in terms of overall maintenance of the car, that is purchasing, the fuel savings, etc., etc. How much is my savings if I invest in purchasing an electric vehicle? And to precisely promote the consumption of electric vehicles, Niti Aayog recommends that we should ensure that the electric vehicles are available at lower cost. We should ensure that the vehicles are available in the domestic market at lower cost. And if the vehicles are available at lower cost, automatically the consumption, adoption of electric vehicles will be preponed. Rather than promoting the consumption of these vehicles maybe by 2030, today itself or in this year itself, we can ensure that more and more households, more and more people will purchase the electric cars. And as such, the government of India itself has a target of having 30% of the electric vehicle market share by 2030. But having said so, please understand, some of the issues regarding the electric vehicles is that, one, the imports are very, very high in India. Imports are very high. For example, no doubt government, in order to promote consumption of the electric two-wheelers, three-wheelers, had announced earlier FAME 1 initiative. After that, FAME 2 was announced. Now in the upcoming budget, we are expecting announcement of FAME 3. But one of the issues has been that in these particular initiatives, though these have been implemented, the imports are very high. As a result of that, the market prices of the vehicles are higher and the government has been forced to provide subsidies in order to reduce the market price. So that is one concern regarding these initiatives. Second one is, once I purchase an electric vehicle, be it a two-wheeler, three-wheeler, or let's say a car, I should also be provided with better services of repair. Better services after the car is sold or let's say the vehicle is sold. One of the pain points regarding electric vehicles in India is said to be precisely the services as well as the repairs. And that is exactly what is provided in the article. The article says that we need to ensure that all of these issues are addressed in order to ensure that the consumption of electric vehicles will be promoted, investment will be increasing, and that will provide benefit not only for consumers to the overall economy as well. Now, in addition to this, as I had promised earlier, I just want to link one more important article or event that is taking place. That is, couple of days ago, the Chinese government has announced that they will conduct investigations against the policies of the European Union. Now, what kind of policies am I referring to here? Let's say couple of weeks ago, the European Union announced that they would be targeting or they would simply be imposing a higher amount of tariff, up to 38%, a higher amount of tariff on cars, electric vehicles that are imported from China into their market. And this is nothing new as such, because even before this announcement was done, the USA president had announced that the Chinese cars, electric vehicles that will enter into the USA market will be imposed with a tariff of 100%. So various other countries, right, are following this particular suit. Now the concern is that if Chinese makers, car makers are unable to sell these in major markets such as USA, European Union, etc. because of higher tariff, they might start dumping these particular cars in other countries such as India. And second very important point here to note is, the Chinese government has stated that they will conduct investigations against such policies of European Union. And if they find that these trade policies have been imposed to hurt Chinese market, illegally hurting Chinese market, then Chinese government might start negotiations with these makers, or let's say European Union lawmakers. And if nothing is resolved, the Chinese government might even impose a tariff targeting the exports coming from the European Union. And this various experts argue that will take us one step closer to the next trade war. Not the world war, trade war. Earlier trade war happened between USA as well as China. Now there is a brewing trade war on the horizon between the government of China as well as the European lawmakers. So these are certain very important points to make a note of this. In addition to this, just remember one more point here. Although I said the foreign investors or the foreign car makers can simply bring investments into India and set up a facility in India, just make one note here. The note is that the government of India has amended the FDI policy, foreign direct investment policy, back in the year 2022. According to this new amended policy of FDI, if any investment, that is FDI, comes into India from the landlocked neighboring countries, underline the term landlocked. If any of these particular neighboring countries which have a land border sharing with India, in such cases, the investment has to go through only approval route, not the automatic route, only the approval route. That is a very important point. Please remember that. So these are certain important points regarding the policy of electric vehicles in the domestic market. Now, if this particular question was asked in the mains examination in 2023, I have an assignment for you. Assignment 1, because I am giving you 2 assignments today. The IBC, no doubt, has improved the recovery of creditors, but it faces, or however, it faces certain issues which need resolution. Elaborate in 15 marks, 250 words. Now, why I am asking you this particular question? In the last 2 days, there was a research paper which was published by SBI. According to SBI research paper, there are certain problems that are plaguing the insolvency and bankruptcy code, which Government of India is expected to fix. This article appeared on 10th of July in the Business Line. And yesterday, there was one more article in Mint which talked about again issues which are plaguing the insolvency and bankruptcy code and what kind of reforms must be implemented by the government to address it. Because please understand this, IBC is a very important reform. However, no doubt it has yielded certain results. However, there are certain problems. These kind of questions can be asked in the UPSC mains. Please attempt it. And to help you in attempting the question, I have given you 2 articles. Read those and write the answer. Second assignment, MCQ is given. Attempt it and do let me know what is the right answer in the comment section. Consider the following statements. One is regarding FDI policy and the second one is regarding scheme to promote manufacturing of electric passenger cars in the domestic market. These are the 2 assignments for today. Please do attempt both of them. Second article, India is hosting BIMTEC foreign ministers amid raging Myanmar crisis. What are the important points? Point number 1, BIMTEC is basically a regional grouping. BIMTEC stands for the Bengal Initiative, Bay of Bengal Initiative for Multi-Sectoral, Technical and Economic Cooperation. The BIMTEC as an initiative, again please understand, today we are calling this as a BIMTEC. When it was actually established back in the year 1997, because of the Bangkok Declaration, it was not called as a BIMTEC. In fact, there are only 4 countries at that point of time. Today, there are 7 countries within the regional grouping. The 4 countries which came together earlier were basically Bangladesh, India, Sri Lanka and Thailand. These were the 4 countries which came together. They formed a grouping and that was called as BIST Economic Cooperation. The BIST acronym basically represents the first alphabet in the names of the member countries. 1997 it was established. Then Myanmar became a member of this grouping. then it became BIMST, EC, BIMTEC. But over a period of time, please understand, that is in the year 2004, Nepal as well as Bhutan also became member countries. As a result of this, this regional grouping, which initially had only 4 member countries, increased to 5, and today there are 7 member countries within the BIMTEC grouping. And over a period of time, instead of the acronym referring to the first letter or first alphabet of the names of the member countries, the name has been changed to Bay of Bengal Initiative. Now, what was the background to setting up of BIMTEC? The background was very simple: to control the onslaught of globalization, in order to ensure that there is a regional cooperation between these countries. And historically, there has been certain trade that has been happening even during the periods of, let's say, medieval ages. So at that particular point, the member countries basically came together and they decided, let's have a regional grouping. And again, when I say at that particular point of time, I'm talking about 1990s. So the member countries came together, formed a grouping so that the economic cooperation might be done. And over a period of time, please understand, many other countries joined. Today we have 7. And to begin with, there are 14 important areas. But these particular 14 important areas over a period of time have been watered down, has been reduced to 7 important areas. And the beauty of the BIMTEC grouping compared to, let's say, other trade groupings, etc., the beauty of BIMTEC grouping is that each of the member countries is responsible to take care of each of the areas, the 7 areas that have been decided very recently post 2022. What are the 7 areas? Please make a note of this. Trade, investment and development, it is allocated to Bangladesh. Environment and climate change to Bhutan. Security for India. Agriculture and food security, Myanmar. People to people contact to Nepal. Science, technology, innovation to Sri Lanka, and connectivity to Thailand. And by the way, this year, chair is Thailand itself. The meeting that is taking place now is basically the meeting of the ministers. That is the ministerial meeting. And please remember this, generally under BIMTEC, there are 2 types of interactions that do take place. One is a ministerial meeting that is generally conducted annually. Last year it was conducted in Myanmar. This year it is being conducted in India. So argument is the ministerial meeting is conducted annually, and the group summit, the member countries will come together, all the 7 member countries will come together, hold a summit. Generally it is done once every 2 years. And again, understand this, the reason why the article discusses regarding the issues in Myanmar, right? Because there is certain concern, or let's say certain events that are taking place in Myanmar which are a cause of concern for all the member countries within the BIMTEC grouping. The issue is that historically in Myanmar, there have been frictions, there have been, right, let's say the fights that are taking place, armed rebellion that has been happening in Myanmar. And if you look at the historical evolution, it's nothing new. Since 1940s itself, 1948 was the first time when the civil war actually broke out. And since that particular point of time, between the government, or let's say the military junta, and on the other side, there are, let's say, ethnic groups which have armed rebellion, or which have raised an armed rebellion against the military junta. And over a period of time, more than 100 ethnic groups, or let's say 135 ethnic groups are present in Myanmar. They have certain groupings, armed rebellions. There are more than 20 such groupings, or let's say groups, which are basically protesting against the junta government. Although there was a nationwide ceasefire agreement signed, in 2015, a nationwide ceasefire agreement was signed. But even after that, especially after 2021, when there was a military coup in Myanmar, there has been rising rebellion for, let's say, the freedom, for more powers to these particular regions, etc., which is basically being raised in this particular article, or the concern is raised in this article. And the concern factor is that increasingly the armed rebellions, or let's say they will use a term here, ethnic armed organizations, they have been occupying certain very important economic infrastructures. certain trade routes are being occupied by these EAOs, which is a blow to the cooperation that is being discussed within the BIMTEC grouping. So these are the two very important points. The third very important point you need to make a note of regarding the BIMTEC is that very recently in the year 2024 itself, BIMTEC charter was announced. The BIMTEC charter was announced and it has been implemented. What are the important points regarding the BIMTEC, the charter as such? Charter essentially means a document. So the BIMTEC charter focuses on, let's say, certain discussion using which you will allow other countries to become members. Other countries to become or join as observers to this particular group of BIMTEC. It will also provide, or it has provided, a legal recognition to the BIMTEC grouping. Now the BIMTEC grouping as an one entity can negotiate with other groups, can represent itself in other areas, etc. And not just this, it will enable conclusion of agreements with the organizations or other countries as well. So these are certain very important points regarding the proposal as well as the implementation of the BIMTEC charter. Having said so, please make a note of this as well. Although BIMTEC has been a group of countries where India is a founding member, it has not been performing very well or very efficiently over a period of time. For example, back in the year 2004 itself, under the BIMTEC, a free trade area arrangement agreement was signed. But even today, as we speak, all the 7 areas within this free trade area arrangement, there are 7 agreements which require signing as well as the implementation. All of them have not been done. And not just this, the Bay of Bengal region is a very, very important fishing region. And according to United Nations and many other experts as well as observers, this is one region where a lot of illegal, unregulated fishing activity is done. And that is part of the trade. Third is, there is a rising influence of Chinese investments within the countries, right? That is a part of the BIMTEC grouping. And this is a cause of concern for Government of India. In majority of these particular countries which are part of BIMTEC, there is investment done by China, for example, Sri Lanka. And these kinds of investments have been pushing these economies into a lot of debt. And one of the reasons why India became a member of BIMTEC was basically to have its influence in the region where it is majorly present in terms of security, in terms of trade, etc. So these are certain very important points regarding the article here. Please make a note of these particular points. Let me go to the next important article. San Fernando becomes the first mothership to dock at Kerala's Vizhinjam port. Now, what is the importance of this article? Some of you will say, sir, this article, should I read it? What is the importance of it? I simply glanced these articles regarding ports in the past as well. Please understand, India has around 13 major ports. These major ports, the problem with these major ports is that these are not deep water ports. What is the idea of a deep water port? Whenever you observe a vessel or let's say a ship which is carrying containers, all of you will agree with me when I say that these ships are submerged to a certain extent in the water, right? That is, let's say this is sea and this is a ship which is carrying vessels, or this is carrying containers. And these, right, let's say ships up to certain height or up to certain depth, these are submerged in the water. These are there in the water. This is basically called as a draft. Please remember this. This is called as a draft. Draft essentially means the distance between the surface of the water as well as the bottom part of the ship. Surface of the water as well as the bottom part of the ship. Just to make it much more simple as well as clear to all of you, I'm pretty sure you have seen ships which are coursing through or which are, right, basically going in a sea. And if you have seen that, at the front part, usually in the front part, you will see the notations or let's say markings provided. And that is basically used to measure what is the draft, at what particular depth this particular ship will sink like this. So that is a draft. And the larger vessels, right, which are, let's say, carrying huge amount of cargo, they require a huge draft, or they require a lengthier draft to the extent of 15 meters, or let's say 18 meters, 20 meters, etc. And because in case of India, the major ports have a smaller draft, generally what used to happen is, these vessels which are carrying huge amount of cargo, rather than directly coming to India, I hope you understand this, I'll repeat it. Because the draft was smaller, right, the depth was smaller in these major ports, rather than directly coming to India, these vessels would go to other ports such as Colombo Port, Sri Lanka, or Singapore Port, or even Klang Port in Malaysia. And what used to happen? These larger vessels will go to these ports, unload the containers, take out the containers, and these containers now would be transported back to India using other ships. And this is basically the concept of transshipment. Is it okay? I'll repeat it again. This is basically the concept of transshipment. Transshipment means what? Rather than directly supplying to India, now the vessel will go to other port, and from the other port, from the second port, now the goods or the containers will be brought into India. This is a transshipment. And what is the problem with the transshipment? The time taken for transportation would be higher, and more importantly, the cost of imports for India, the cost of imports would be higher. Lot of dollars you will have to pay for basically routing the goods from, let's say, other country to Colombo back to India. In fact, I'm harping on this particular point. I'm focusing on the point of Colombo because please understand here, around 75%, 70 to 75% of the total imports done to India used to come through other ports, that is Colombo, Singapore, etc. And out of this 75%, 40% or 40% of the imports that came into India used to come from Colombo port. Right, so that's the reason Colombo port was very, very important for Indian economy. So now understand the problem here. When you import it like this, cost would be higher, time taken would be higher, precious dollars would be flowing out. In order to address this, in 2015, there was the announcement of Transshipment port to be developed in Kerala. By the way, this is not the first initiative. Please be very careful. Reason being, even before this, there was a terminal that was developed in Cochin. But the Cochin terminal did not find favor in the global market. It did not perform very well. Reason being, the cost that is associated for the vessels, the cost that was imposed and collected for the vessels to dock and basically unload the containers, the cost was very high. Compared to that, Colombo, the cost there was very, very less. And that's a precise reason Cochin did not, or this Cochin, international Cochin port or terminal did not develop or did not succeed to the expected level. Right? It simply became a terminal, did not become a transshipment port. Now, developed by Adani, this will be the first Indian transshipment port in India. Is it okay? This will be the first Indian transshipment port. And the benefit of this is the draft or the depth of the water is very high, 18 meters, which can be extended up to 20 meters. And please understand, even the drift here, that is basically the flow of water which will bring in, let's say, lot of sediments, deposits, etc. Even that is lesser. As a result of this, the expenditures that would be incurred to maintain these particular ports will be comparatively lesser. That is the importance of the article. Right? So this will become the first, let's say, the transshipment port, and the first mothership has docked at this particular port. Please make a note of this. This is very, very important. Next article. Should the states get special packages outside Finance Commission allocations? As already mentioned, there was an earlier article also on the 8th of July. Let me elaborate the discussion. Let's have a look at the overall issue here. Very recently, after the Lok Sabha elections, two state governments, one the Andhra Pradesh state government and the second one, Bihar state government, initially there was a discussion that they should be provided with the special category status. And because they did not find favor at the central level, now they are demanding they should be provided with special packages. What are their demands? For example, they are demanding that the state of Bihar is demanding they should be provided with a special package of 30,000 crore rupee in the upcoming budget. And the state of the Andhra Pradesh is demanding a small amount of 1 lakh crore rupees. 1 lakh crore rupees. And just to put things in context, put together this will become 1.3 lakh crore rupees. For financial year 23 and 24, Government of India's budgetary allocations for the full year budget was 45 lakh crore rupees. 45 lakh crore, and the two states are demanding put together 1.3 lakh crore. If you basically do the mathematics, you will realize it is a good chunk of the total amount of budgetary allocations, right? So that is one point. Second point, is it the end of the demand? No, they are also demanding that under FRBM certain restrictions are being imposed, that is gross budgetary borrowing limits are imposed. Certain relaxation should be provided to both of the states. And the third demand, central government in the last couple of years has implemented a scheme wherein in order to promote capital expenditure by the states, the central government has been providing interest-free loans for 50 years. Interest-free loans under this initiative is provided for 50 years for the state governments to invest in capital expenditure. These two states are demanding, these two states are saying that the amount of allocation under this initiative must be doubled for us. Give us more. These are the three very important demands which have been put forward by the states. Now this is one side of the argument. Second, why? What is the reason? Why are they demanding this? And is there any logic to that? The first reason they are basically saying is they want to use this money for development of infrastructure as well as promotion of development. That is growth as well as development essentially. They want to invest money in developing infrastructure as well as other social welfare measures. Second, these states, for example, Andhra Pradesh state government is saying, when Andhra Pradesh earlier, the one state was bifurcated into two states, lot of revenue was lost by the state. And the earlier government promised me that there would be a special category status where I would have got lot of revenue benefits. Now you are not giving me that benefit. At least give me certain amount of money to ensure whatever historically has been done to me is negated. I will use this money for, let's say certain reasons. Third, the Bihar government is saying, if you look at the development in the state, we are lagging behind development. And in fact, there is a reason for that. There is an argument in favor of that. If you look at the per capita development expenditure, I repeat, per capita development expenditure in the state of Bihar, it is 60% of the national average. So these are some of the reasons which have been cited by these state governments which are demanding special packages. Having said so, is providing special package good for Indian economy? Is it overall, let's say, better for, let's say, the policy for the government of India? These are certain reasons against special packages. One, as usual, government of India's expenditure will increase. Correct? Government of India's expenditure will increase. With higher expenditure, now there is a pressure on the finances of the government. The fiscal deficit of the government might also start increasing. That's the first concern. Second concern, even if you provide special packages, any guarantee that the state will utilize the resources very efficiently? Is there any guarantee? There is no guaranteed utilization of these resources, no guarantee regarding efficient utilization. No guarantee regarding efficient utilization. In fact, various experts have argued that generally these poor states are the one where lot of leakages of the money actually happens. So no guaranteed usage. Third one, if they will provide special packages to the state of Bihar as well as let's say Andhra Pradesh, what about other states? Don't you think the other states will also start demanding same amount or same kind of a treatment? Already many states such as Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, they are alleging that the central government has a stepmotherly treatment. They provide more benefits to the states where their allies are present, and they do not provide the benefits. They will, right, let's say follow a discriminatory policy against the states such as Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, Kerala, where their allies are not present. So what will happen to other states? Will they not rebel again? Will they not simply raise concern regarding this? So these are some of the issues, and that's the reason in the article, in fact, one of the experts says, if the center agrees to such large scale discretionary transfers, such a beautiful statement. Have a look at this. If the center agrees to such large scale discretionary transfers, the fiscal prudence will become a casualty. The fiscal prudence will become casualty. That is guaranteed. And in addition to this, there is also a discussion regarding GST. With introduction of GST, the experts argue that there is less power with the states. It has basically led to centralization of powers. The states initially thought they would earn huge amount of tax receipts under GST, because before the GST was introduced, more than 2/3 of the total income, the tax income, the states used to earn under the value added taxation. With introduction of GST, they have lost their powers. Hence, the two experts, one of the expert basically says, GST has done more harm to the states rather than doing good. Right, so these are certain very important points which are being discussed in the article. I have given you the summation of the article, including certain other viewpoints as well. Please make a note of this. Next article, RBI allows resident Indians to open the foreign currency accounts in GIFT City IFC. Now, some of you will be wondering, sir, this article is so small. I did not even see that in the Hindu newspaper. It is there in one of the corners of the pages. Very, very small article. But the importance of the article is very high. What is this idea of a GIFT IFSC FCA? Listen to me very carefully. Right now, let's say you want to invest in the foreign market. You want to send money to your friends who are there in the foreign market, or let's say foreign countries. There is an initiative called as Liberalized Remittances Scheme, LRS, which was implemented by the government, RBI in the year 2004. Under LRS, individually, that is you, me, anybody in India, individually, you can take out $2.5 lakh. I am saying $2.5 lakh. Generally, they will write $250,000. Both are one and the same, by the way. So $250,000 or $2.5 lakh per year without taking any approval of Reserve Bank of India. This is point number one. Point number two, under LRS, you are allowed to conduct capital account transactions as well as current account transactions within balance of payment. For example, you can invest in foreign stock market. You can, let's say, use this money for, having tours outside India. You can invest in certain assets outside India. You can use it for, let's say, education purposes outside India. So capital account and current account transactions are allowed. But please understand, with introduction of International Financial Services Center, that is in Gujarat, IFSC has been set up. Now, within IFSC also, you are allowed to invest this particular amount of money under the LRS. But there is an introduction of a new initiative now, that is Foreign Currency Account, FCA, Foreign Currency Account. What is this Foreign Currency Account? And by the way, to be very, very particular here, earlier also you were allowed to open a foreign currency account. Earlier also in the GIFT IFSC, you were allowed to open a foreign currency account, but there were certain restrictions, right? Restrictions were there. Now these restrictions have been removed by Reserve Bank of India. Now, before I discuss what are the restrictions which have been withdrawn, what is this foreign currency account? All of you have savings bank accounts. That is a bank account where you will keep money in terms of rupees. Now imagine instead of keeping rupees in the bank account, what if you have dollars in the bank account? That is essentially called as a foreign currency account. Now individuals in India, that is residents in India, can open the foreign currency accounts in the GIFT IFSC. They can open the foreign currency account in the GIFT IFSC. And what is the use of this? In the GIFT IFSC, if you open this foreign currency account now, you can use these dollars, the foreign currencies, for all the transactions which are allowed under LRS. You can use these transactions to pay for the tuition fees if you are studying abroad. You can use these dollars to transfer or to, let's say, provide gift to your friend who is, let's say outside India. You can use these dollars to invest in property outside India. So whatever, let's say, restrictions were earlier imposed on the foreign currency accounts, these restrictions have been withdrawn. What is the benefit of this? Why should you study this? What is the benefit of this? If you keep on depositing dollars, let's say today, if you deposit dollars in a foreign currency account and use these dollars, let's say after 1 year, don't you think you will be protecting yourself from foreign currency fluctuations? Whatever might be the exchange rate after 1 year, if it is, let's say, $1 is equal to 90 and today $1 is equal to 80, are you not protecting yourself by converting these rupees to dollar today itself and putting this in the foreign currency account? And not just this, with this exemption being withdrawn by the government, the restrictions being withdrawn by Reserve Bank of India, now you can use this amount for many other purposes as well. So these are certain important points regarding the article here. Next two articles, Science and Technology. The first one is, why are the dengue cases on the rise worldwide and specifically within India? Why are these cases rising? And second article that I will be discussing, again related to science and technology, is Zika virus. There have been certain instances in recent times regarding Zika virus. I will discuss that. First one, dengue cases. According to the World Health Organization, according to WHO, in the year 2024, understand this, there have been more than 7.6 million cases of dengue cases or dengue, let's say diseases. People being attacked with the dengue disease. Out of this, understand this, the Asian region, generally Asian region is said to be accounting for majority of these cases. How much? The WHO report generally states that around 70% of these cases are from the Asian region itself. And what is the contribution from India to these particular cases? More than 20% of such cases of dengue generally come from Indian country or Indian area itself. So there is a concern that has been raised by WHO that with onset of monsoon, there are 5 countries which generally face a lot of issues regarding monsoon, that is a rise in the dengue cases. These 5 countries are India, Bangladesh, Myanmar, Thailand and Nepal. These particular 5 countries, with the onset of monsoon, WHO says generally there is a rising trend of dengue cases. And it is happening right now. In the state of Karnataka, there has been a sudden spike in dengue cases, to the extent that the High Court of Karnataka took notice of it and sent a notice, show cause notice to the government, to BBMP, to the state government. And not just in Karnataka, couple of months ago, there was a dengue outbreak in Delhi. There was a dengue outbreak even in Bombay. So there have been instances where there has been a sudden rise in the dengue cases. The reason which have been cited in the article are very simple. The migration that has taken place without sufficient infrastructure to ensure that once the rainfall happens, the water is not standing, sufficient sanitation infrastructure, etc., that has not been taken care of. And because of movement of people from one region to another region, once they are infected, they will go to other regions and they will become carriers, where the mosquitoes in other regions will also get infected. And by the way, please remember this, dengue is a vector-borne disease. It's a vector-borne disease. That is, there is a mosquito, Aedes aegypti, which is said to be the carrier of dengue, vector, that is basically carrying the virus, and once it bites another person, they will also become infected. And according to WHO, this is a list of the vector-borne diseases. Please go through the list, because the dengue as well as the Zika have become a part of current affairs now. Suddenly UPSC can pick up a question from this particular table itself. So I've taken the table from the WHO website. Have a look at it. Now these are certain points regarding dengue. Now many of you will ask me, sir, if we know that there is a constant outbreak concern regarding dengue, why are we not doing anything? Why is there not development of vaccination to control dengue, etc.? My dear, please understand, it's not that there are no vaccines. In fact, last year in Hindu newspaper, there was one article which had a detailed discussion regarding the vaccination in case of dengue. The problem in case of dengue is that there are different serotypes. That is virus, there are different types within the, which will cause a dengue. Right? These are generally called as a D, 1, 2, 3, 4 like this. There are different serotypes. And the problem with vaccination development is that historically there has not been much, investment in R&D for this. And because there are different serotypes, it is very difficult to develop one vaccine which will cater, or which will basically address the issue of the dengue being caused with all the different serotypes. Right, so, and these are some of the reasons why the development of dengue vaccine has been at the back burner. Having said so, it's not that there are no vaccines. According to WHO website, there are 2 vaccines that are present. But even the adoption of these vaccines are not very, very high. In fact, one of these vaccines, that is a CYD-TDV, Dengue vaccine, the cost is higher. The adoption is a problem because even before you are provided this vaccination, there has to be a pre-screening process. So the adoption is very, very less for these kinds of vaccinations. So there are 2 vaccines which have been listed by World Health Organization for, dengue. One is dengue vaccine and the second one is dengue, right? That is a TAK003. Please remember these technical names. The UPSC can ask you these kind of terminologies in the preliminary examination. So these are points regarding dengue. What about the other, the disease that is making news now? Zika virus has made a comeback. There have been certain cases, 15 cases to be very precise, in Maharashtra, and one case where the person who contracted Zika basically passed away. Right, so the discussion regarding Zika has again started. Zika also, please understand, is transmitted by mosquito. That is the same mosquito, same culprit, that is Aedes aegypti, which carries the virus for dengue. Same mosquito generally carries the virus for even Zika, that is Zika virus. And the same mosquito also is said to carry, right, chikungunya, or the virus which causes chikungunya. So please be very careful, right? So carry dengue, yellow fever, chikungunya and Zika, same virus. But please understand this, unlike dengue, in case of Zika virus, it can be transmitted in other ways as well. That is, it can be transmitted sexually, it can be transmitted when there is a transfer of the blood of infected person to another person, or even other blood products such as the blood platelets, etc. So unlike dengue, in this case, there are different modes of transmission of Zika virus. But the biggest problem, the article says, the biggest problem regarding Zika is that, one, we do not have sufficient testing facilities. Lot of these samples which are collected for testing of a Zika infection, these are sent to National Institute for Virology. And because they do not have sufficient infrastructure and the samples which are sent are very, very high, there is a huge backlog in terms of testing. And second issue is, there is no standard, the test kit which is available for other diseases. We do not have any approved, right, standard kit. For example, during COVID, I am pretty sure all of you have come across this. During COVID, within the house itself, if you wanted to test yourself, if you are infected with COVID, there was a kit. There was an approved kit. And the same kit, the authority, Central Drugs Standard Control Organization, says there is no approved diagnostic test kit for Zika. And this is a very big limitation. And that's the reason Indian Council for the Medical Research, ICMR has stated that when a person comes for testing, let's say he is tested for dengue, he is tested for other types of virus diseases. If there is no, let's say, the symptom or there is no confirmation, in such cases, please test for Zika. In such cases, because please understand, there are certain symptoms. In case of Zika, after third day of infection, there are certain symptoms. Same in case of dengue also, certain mild symptoms are there. In such cases, when you test for dengue and the person doesn't have dengue, is negative for dengue, in such cases, try and test for Zika and see that, okay, if this is not there, right, whether this is the case of a Zika virus. So, this is the way through which you can contain the spread of Zika virus through better surveillance as well as vector control. So, these are certain important points which have been mentioned in today's Hindu newspaper regarding the two the diseases. One is the dengue as well as second one is Zika. In addition to this, please remember the term microencephaly. Right, there is a term microcephaly, which is basically whenever a pregnant woman is infected with Zika virus, there are chances that even the child which is growing, right, even the child which will be born after a couple of months, even that can be infected. Around 5 to 15% of the cases where the pregnant women have been infected with the Zika virus, they have given birth to a child, and in many cases there have been certain cases of miscarriage also. In certain number of cases, there has been a problem with respect to brain development of the child. That is microcephaly, where the rest of the body is normal, but only the head part looks smaller because the brain has not developed because of infection of Zika virus. So, these are certain important points. Please remember them. These are the various articles which have been provided in the Hindu newspaper international edition of 12th July 2024. If you have benefited from this initiative, hit the like button. I have given you certain assignments. Please do follow these assignments. It will help you a lot in the upcoming examinations for civil services. And please do not forget to join us today at 6 p.m. when we will launch NCERT Fundamentals Initiative. Thank you. Have a great day.